Welcome to your If Astrology Isn't Real minisode presented to you by Cosmic RX Radio, where I spill the tea on this week's headlines, politics, pop culture, world events, all written in the stars. Let's dive in. If astrology isn't real, then why is Saturn and Neptune in Aries already burning things down like day zero out the gate? I'm going to get into all of that, what's going on in Louisiana, and more on today's episode of If Astrology Isn't Real, your cosmic baddie dispatch, your chaser to the main drink, main drag of your energy report, where we really go in and we decode the celestial cosmic chaos with humor, I hope, hype, and a sprinkle of hope. So remember, as we learn this, our personal evolution fuels our collective revolution, and astrology is not here to tell us who we are in a bad way or what to do or that things are set in stone, but instead astrology provides a fantastic roadmap for both the micro and the macro in times like now. Let's get into it. So what is the tea? Like I mentioned in the preview, your girl is not here to celebrate like destruction, but sometimes she is. We know Neptune's been in Aries since the end of March. Saturn just joined. And what is Saturn? Saturn rules karma. Saturn rules like karmic catch-up moments. And we saw that plantation where people have weddings, yikes, in Louisiana burned down this week. And it just felt so literal watching it. I'm like, yes, first of all, Pluto and Aquarius always happening in the background. But to say that that plantation was problematic is an understatement. And I do believe the spirits, the ancestors of that space, of that land was like, shut it down. That's why I think the Neptune and Aries was at play. Neptune and Aries is like, I have an idea. And Saturn and Aries is like, say less. Also, just adding, like, let me know your thoughts below if you're watching this on YouTube. Okay, so the Neptune and Aries of it all that I thought was interesting is two things. Annabelle the doll, just go look it up. Look up the whole Annabelle the doll connection. Allegedly haunted Raggedy Ann doll like made its way to Louisiana, and then the fire happened. And then also after there was a TikTok trend that I do not subscribe to or understand, but just, I am chronically online. So I saw something about that there was a trend going on that red-headed people were the equivalent to black people. I don't totally understand it, but there's conjecture on the internet about the Annabelle doll being related to this fire. And then also, very interestingly, the plantation was called the Nottoway Plantation. And I can't find the link or who did it, but I will look. There is somewhat a creator who literally made like a cross stitch of someone burning down this plantation like years ago. And then it happened. And they were like, oh, no, we're not going to, like, are you expecting me to say, like, I'm sorry, or I feel bad? Like, I really don't. So anyway, I just thought that was very interesting. Let me know. As we see Saturn joining Neptune and Aries, we're going to see a lot of shit. A lot of things go down. Good, bad, ugly, crazy otherwise. But, these kind of karmic things being burnt down, I'm here for. Saturn and Aries is also going to see, I think, a little bit of a wake up. The Neptune and Pisces delusion, our brains are very foggy. And I think sometimes we wonder about like the collective, some people I'm questioning, we're questioning, right? Like the intelligence. I think that we're going to have some waking up, some drying off, I hope, as this transit happens. But let's talk about how some of the political astrology, the stars behind the strife, if you will. So this week, the Republican Party didn't announce, we just interpreted it, but it's pretty obvious. It's like someone getting in a fight at a restaurant. They don't have to announce it. We're just watching it. But I think that Republican Party, the GOP, experienced some significant internal divisions. Several things. One thing was the president's one big beautiful bill. Hardline conservatives, including members of the House Freedom Caucus, if you didn't follow it, they're pushing back against provisions related to Medicaid work requirements and state local tax deductions, just delays. And then there was the whole Qatar jet gifting of the jet fiasco that a lot of Republicans were just like, this is not a good look. And then there was Muskie boy. You almost feel bad for him, but then I'm like, I can't feel bad for billionaires who try to buy elections. But like, he just gave this really hilarious interview, not on purpose hilarious, but just, about how like he's feeling Like he probably won't be getting involved in elections again. And Trump is sort of distancing himself from him and just feels like that Doge energy in general. So it's like, what does this mean? Has this tie into astrology? Well, again, like this aligns with Uranus and Gemini is coming on July 7th. And this is going to be huge, massive. Again, the day Uranus moved into Gemini last time, we went into the Civil War. Uranus and Gemini, it just connects us to, or say the day Uranus moved into Gemini, we went to the Civil War, but it was also present during World War I. And it's just, it divides, right? Gemini is the mind, it's people. Uranus brings in disruption, but also innovation, duality. So it's a time where we're in the intensification to the polarization, and the challenges are for real. So again, thinking about that, especially here at the Civil War, which we know that, like I talked about it last week, we're revisiting this. And I do think that Uranus and Gemini is going to bring things, possibly it's going to last for 7-8 years. And I think it's going to maybe do something to the two-party system in our country, which I think everyone is like over. It's going to do something. And I'm feeling that. And we know, obviously, Trump being a Gemini, maybe the most famous Gemini in the world who's alive right now, could bring some interesting things coming his way. So again, let's hope that Neptune and Saturn and Aries will shake us out of that Piscean fog. Maybe some people will be waking up, maybe an energy to like leave a cult. If you've been in one, just saying. But yeah, Aries, fiery, clarity, collective awakening. I hope that's coming in pair with Jupiter and Cancer. Again, all these transits bring highs, lows. And I'm not going to lie, the next few years are going to be intense. Like we're in intense astrology. We're in astrology of war, but there is hope to find within that. There is joy to mine. And there is a reason you're here. There is a role you have in this revolution. And that's what I talk about a lot in my book, in the Cosmic Zone. But it's like this next few years need us so vibrantly ourselves, so authentically ourselves, so much in our power, so that we don't give it away to the systems that try to fearmonger or divide or dysregulate. Okay. So keeping that in mind, very excited to talk about like Jupiter and Cancer and what that means, but I'll save that. But I am thinking like, if astrology isn't real, why are these cosmic patterns mirroring earthly events so precisely, playing out right on schedule with these historical cycles and patterns? So yeah, so let's switch gears, talking about pop culture under the stars. What's happening in the pop culture tea? Some of you requested a Taylor Swift deep dive. I don't have the time and bandwidth for that this week, but I am going to do that. I do want to do some deep dives, requests I had for her, for Pete Buttigieg. I was like, let's do it. I love it. But we did see Taylor Swift in the news again right after the podcast came out. I talked about she has her Mars and Pluto in Scorpio after this Scorpio full moon. I said the Scorpio full moon takes 2 weeks for things to play out, stories to play out. I talked last week about the court drama with Blake Lively. But, right after that came out, I am convinced now that she's a Scorpio rising, because this happening under the Scorpio full moon feels so public, feels so much about her identity. And having her actual physical self and appearance and just vibe criticized by Trump. I'm like, what? He said that she's not hot anymore ever since he said so. I don't even know. It was so delusional. It was so weird. The rantings of an old man. But it was also just why? Look, why is the president tweeting about a young woman? It's just so deranged. But I did think it was an astrology. It was a real moment. Because again, that Scorpio full moon activating that Mars, that anger in her, probably defensiveness, protectiveness, Pluto in Scorpio, and I'm guessing her first house, her physical self. I did see that she never licenses her songs to use on soundtracks. I did see that she licensed the song "Look What You Made Me Do." Forgive me, it's not the exact headline, the exact title, for the new Handmaid's Tale new season. And that's a message. And that's how you send a message. She's not taking this shit lying down. And you know what? I don't agree with everything that she does or says, but I do appreciate that. So yeah, pop culture. Okay, I'm going to speak on it in a moment. A few of you reached out to me about how I did say that President Biden might have news of a medical situation or not great health news coming around in April, May. And I just want to say it brings me no great joy. Sometimes I'm because this collective energy affects us so much that it's things that I want to share. But I also just am like, I don't really like commenting on other people's life, health, their medical astrology. I'm sending love, strength, peacefulness to him and his family during this time. If anybody's ever gone through having a family member having cancer, I'm sorry. I'm with you. It is the absolute fucking worst. So I'm just going to leave it at that. And shifting gears to wrap up this week's cosmic journey through the chaos, I thought we could leave with something light, something yummily. Let's talk about the astrological blueprint, the if astrology isn't real behind, I think, the internet's favorite daddy, favorite comfort human, someone who's been out here but is experiencing a rising star moment. I'm talking about Pedro Pascal. Yummy. I cannot open Beyonce's internet without seeing a meme about Pedro Pascal. I saw a list on Twitter that was like problematic history of Pedro Pascal. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't know. I was like, oh my God. And the problematic history was like stealing hearts. How dare he make us fall in love with him this much? It was like really cute. And I thought that whatever that was, a thread, I don't know, whatever on the internet I'm reading, it was a really cute example of why I'm like, this man is like adorable. He really has us in a chokehold. So I was like, let's look at his astrology. One, is this shit for real or is this an act? Is he this cute? And like, why now? Why are we having, and granted, it's been happening for the past like year and a half or 2 years, I'd say. I feel like that like Pedro Pascal, like, I don't know if it's the meme of him in the car looking at Nick Cage or the meme of him eating a sandwich, but somewhere along the way, like we fell into his enchantments. So I want to talk about a few things I love in his chart. Okay, so first of all, he's in his Chiron return and he's in Aries and he has his sun in Aries, his Jupiter in Aries, and his Chiron in Aries. And I like this because sometimes we hear something like the Chiron return and we get really scared. This happens to us like in our 50s, and I think it can sound really intense. But it's actually like if you're doing the work, if you're showing up, if you're allowing like your weirdness to show, if you're allowing your medicine to come out, the medicine you take, the medicine you make, if you're allowing yourself to be authentic, it could be a really powerful time, right? And I think we're really seeing that with him. And it was actually during like Jupiter's transit in Aries that, at least for me personally, he like really came on the scene in a bigger way. So I'm like, if astrology isn't real, then why? And then now, like we've had these Aries eclipses, the North Node's been in Aries, and I feel like this just pushed him out in this like cosmic wave, right? And I love it because Pedro Pascal really embodies that Aries energy of just being so yourself. I think Aries are playful, they're enthusiastic, they're sort of eternally youthful. But when they're just really free to be themselves and like not give a fuck, they are in their power and their glory. And I love, the way he totally disrupts so many like Hollywood stereotypes, outdated gender norms. I love the way he dresses, the way he expresses. I love the things he says. I love like he's really like not giving a fuck, but giving a damn kind of energy. I do think it's all fucking really real. It's not curated because one, we can suss it out. I think we all know nowadays we can suss out fake shit. But two things, he has his moon in Capricorn. Have you ever asked a Capricorn moon to fake anything? Like sometimes my Capricorn moon friends, I'm like, can you fake something a little bit? Because you're hurting me with all this truth, or this face. This face can't hide anything. And it's a grounded, emotional nature. There's strong work ethic. A cat moon, I love because he is the internet's daddy. So if astrology isn't real, then why does our internet daddy have a cat moon, which I think is such like a leather daddy energy? And also cat moons are older souls and they do, not always, but I find tend to experience more success later in life. Like they really earn it. They climb the mountain. And pairing with that, his Mercury in Pisces is the other energy where I'm like, I don't think he can fake anything because Mercury in Pisces is just this like direct channel. And they're kind of like totally out there, but they're compassionate, they're vibrant, they're vivid, they're intuitive. And he's into astrology. I've heard him say in an interview. He's just down to be himself and he's very dreamy. I think Mercury in Pisces has an inherently like romantic aspect to it. They're empathetic, they're emotionally intelligent. And his Venus in Taurus just feels like yummy, yummy, yummy with his like charming, affectionate demeanor, which also like a Jupiter and Sun in the same sign can have that like sort of magnanimous, magnetic effect on people. And then his Mars in Aquarius, I love because Mars in Aquarius is like the freak flag fly, right? We're valuing individuality. We're marching to the beat of our own drum. We're very progressive too. And I think that it's fun to see good examples of Aquarian energy and like what the future is trying to do, how the future is trying to move through us, where the future is trying to bring us. And I'm like, I talk a lot on this podcast, bashing like celebrity culture. And I do think that like the pedestal, that worshiping of the celebrity, that time is over. It's gone. It's done. It's dusted. It's dusty. But there's something cool. Like there's still going to be entertainers. There's still going to be people who just tend to have more influence than the average person. But we hope that they do it with great responsibility. We hope they do it with authenticity. We hope they do it in a way that's like guiding us to something better. And I did see that at, I believe it was the Cannes Film Festival, but on some panel he was on, he talked about things like, what's happening in Gaza and like food being denied access there is a huge crisis and a huge humanitarian crisis. And like I talked about his relationship and also with the immigration issues happening here in the US and the atrocities that are happening with ICE. Like he speaks out on stuff, but like he's also playful. He doesn't have to be so like, he's not like so gravitas, so serious all the time. And I think there's something to learn from that like you can be serious about serious things and you can be unserious because life is inherently unserious also. And I think it actually helps like the medicine go down a little bit, like a spoonful of sugar kind of a thing. But anyway, Pedro, if you're watching, if you're listening, this is my love letter to you and your birth chart. Call me if you want a cosmic consultant. But yeah, I love this blend of just fiery individuality, quirky eccentricity, yummy, juicy stability. And like, it just makes sense. So that is a wrap for this week's breakdown, and pun intended, of what's going on in the world. And remember, like the stars, they don't lie, but the stars also don't decide. They just guide. They help guide us to our highest and hottest selves, our individual evolutions, our collective revolution, hopefully. And so stay tuned, stay stellar. I can't talk right now. Keep embracing your inner chaos goddess on my behalf. Do it for me. Catch you next week on the episode of If Astrology Isn't Real. Do you love getting your Cosmic RX for the week here and want more? Make sure to sign up for our premium subscription so you can get exclusive access to bonus podcast episodes, all of my astrology info for the month ahead, and live new and full moon calls to help you manifest your dream life with an intentional international community of other cosmic baddies. Sign up through our link in show notes. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you want to know more about Cosmic RX, head on over to thecosmicrx.com. And if you really love this show, I'd love it if you left a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. I super love hearing from you and reading your reviews. All right, you cosmic baddie, tune in next week. And until then, remember, love yourself fully, work your magic, and take no shit.